Welcome to the Fashion Translator. I'm Claire, your host. Together we explore how AI and innovation are reshaping the fashion industry through creativity, technology, and global partnership. For today's episode, I'm thrilled to welcome Melissa Dusenberry, founder and creative director of All the Brilliant, a fine jewelry concierge and shopping experience built around intention and connection. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me today. Could you please start by introducing yourself and sharing with us what led you to build your company?
Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me to join you and be a part of the community. I'm Melissa Dusenberry, founder of All the Brilliance. All the Brilliance is a fine jewelry concierge helping women and men invest in jewelry with intention and connection. And through my global network of coveted designers, I guide customers when they're selecting pieces that tell a woman's story and ensure she feels seen and confident.
That's a wonderful mission. Tell us more about what led you to put the experience at the core, like how your vision has evolved for your services.
I began my career in advertising, specifically as an art director in image branding in fashion, luxury, and beauty. In my 30s, I hit a massive restart to find something more personally fulfilling. So, with my background, I moved to Paris to figure out what's next. And I began consulting with entrepreneurial ventures, helping them find their vision and their voice. And one was a private high jewelry club for high net worth women in London, where members could borrow pieces that would otherwise sit in the dark at these jewelry houses. So in my work there, beyond being a creative director, I also stepped into a business development role. And there I discovered two things that truly fascinated me and really just lit me up about jewelry. And they are, one is history, the fact that everything we know about our ancient ancestors comes to us through jewelry and weaponry, because of course it's what survives through archaeology. And also jewelry was always a reflection of what was of meaning and of value to our ancient ancestors. And that just blew my mind. And then the other thing was gemstones. Why is one more valuable than another? And who and where are they from? And, just to frame this was about 15 years ago, and the industry was a lot more opaque than it is today. So there has been progress made. But I always thought in that moment, if I ever wanted to start my own business, I would want to solve for that. And so I created All the Brilliance as a joyful space where people can ask those questions and also to restore that connection that is possible that we can have with jewelry that is truly a reflection of what is of meaning and of value to us.
It is, it really is. So tell us, what a client comes to you and wants to look for a meaningful jewelry. How do you guide them from what they want towards what's the right piece for them?
That's a great question. And we go so deep. Whether it's a woman who's seeking a piece for herself or a man who's looking for a gift for his wife or partner, we discuss the intention and connection behind the piece. Is it celebrating a milestone or marking a particular moment in her life journey? I ask things like, what is her style? What are her wardrobe needs? And how does what we're going to create holistically complement her collection? And then finally, we discuss one's values. So as an advocate of responsible sourcing, we always talk about things like climate action or UN SDGs. For people who don't know, that stands for United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So from all of the standpoints, and again, kind of in this very intentional, holistic way, where we're really looking at a lot of things to make this piece truly imbued with intention and connection.
And if we think about still building on intention and connection, if we think about jewelry, the one that sits inside the sphere of luxury, how do you perceive luxury also not being just the piece, but also the trust, the guidance, and the human component that build this luxury experience?
I think the word luxury is a bit loaded, right? Because everyone defines that so differently. And what it means for All the Brilliance is that it's not just the investment in the value of the materials or the high level of craft or the unique design signatures. And it is certainly that, but it's as much as possible, the designers that I work with are, they all practice responsible sourcing throughout the supply chain. And that means respecting and protecting people, their skills in the natural environment. And even when we don't have clarity on maybe where a particular gemstone is from, we disclose that too. So, through my coveted network of designers from all around the world, I'm able to really, especially from like the trust and guided standpoint, really make sure that these pieces are uniquely meant for the person who's going to wear it. And then again, like there's so much consideration, vetting, and curation around all of that. And these pieces are pieces that are also not widely accessible anywhere else. And in those cases where what someone is seeking doesn't exist, I'll partner with one of these designers to create a bespoke piece that really does include all of those personal parts of her story. Or as is often the case, the customer is looking for a very specific kind of gemstone or very specific kind of design signature, or maybe it's just a rare gemstone. So if it doesn't exist, I'll source them through my vetted gemstone suppliers and I'll craft it here in New York City with accomplished bench jewelers so that in every possible capacity, the goal is for the clients to feel heard, well cared for throughout the entire process from that first conversation up through the moment that she opens that box and meets the piece for the first time.
That's beautiful. So I would say for you to be able to create this kind of experience, the relationship you have with your supplier, designer is very foundational.
It is. It absolutely is. And in fact, I've learned so much about gemstones and jewelry through them. And early on, when I started All the Brilliance, it was through, it started as a passion project and kind of the idea of us all being kind of locked down, right? I was able to go to the leaders in responsible sourcing in a particular kind of gemstone and just, literally send an email and say, hey, I'm, starting something new. I'm really interested in learning about what this means and what does your work involve and all the things. And it was just a very easy, like, sure, I'll have a conversation with you. And I learned a lot about not only just like what it looks like in those artisanal mining communities to like, why is one gemstone more valuable than another? And so in many ways, it's literally that vetted network that helped me build All the Brilliance as much as it was me with this vision that I had. So it's truly, truly a real partnership. That's the root of where it starts. And then from there, if we think about these pieces that your client are buying, we're talking about something that's going to carry down from generation to generation. It has such an emotional weight because it will be attached to a very specific event or a very specific milestone or person. How would you say, like, how would you approach the responsibility that comes with guiding human beings towards these kind of emotion and choices? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a conversation about what they have and what they would like to acquire. And also, it's a conversation about alignment, not only as I had talked about before with describing like the responsible sourcing part, but it's also like, what is their aesthetic alignment, and how is what they're going to invest in next going to really feel like it was that person? That's the power of the curated partners and designers that I have is that, for example, a Parisian designer I work with called Edienne. She creates high jewelry portraits, which are literally works of art that you can wear. And they are a reflection of the client's life journey in a way that you can never, ever, ever, ever imagine it. So that to me is the true definition of a modern heirloom that is a future heirloom, imbued with the client's stories for her and future generations to know about the stories, enjoy them, and carry her story with them. And I also encourage people to continually rediscover what they already have. And the best way to do this, I think, is when you're changing over your wardrobe from winter to summer clothing, right? We have this kind of ritual. We do it twice a year where we literally go through all of our closets and change out things. And this is the best time to do this with your jewelry collection too, because you're already doing it. And it does a couple of things. It kind of makes you look at everything holistically, and you can say like,
Yeah.
oh, that ring, that kept getting caught on my knit sweaters. Well, maybe that particular ring needs to be taken in for repair. Maybe the setting is loose. Oh, I forgot I had that gold necklace that I love that I wore like 15, 20 years ago, but you forgot about it because it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind, right? Maybe you're not
Yeah.
wearing it because, well, you just don't have a pendant to wear it with. We can kind of talk about those things as well. And I encourage customers and just anyone to ask yourself those things like, well, why am I wearing it? Does it need repairing or what does it need to enjoy
Yeah.
wearing it again? On the topic of stewardship, I always encourage clients to document their jewelry with what I've developed is I call it a jewelry inventory guide. And it's something that goes beyond listing all your pieces in the context of like, this is what is captured in an appraisal. It actually prompts you to capture those personal stories, collect those ephemeral documents. Is it like a photo of your grandmother wearing the ring that you now have? Or is it a love letter from your father to your mother? And there's like a piece that went along with that letter. Like these are the ephemeral pieces that sometimes just because they're not connected to anything, they
Yeah.
get lost and they vaporize over time.
Yeah.
And like that's really the connection. And that describes really the reason why jewelry has this unique quality of being an alternative asset where there's a duality of financial value and the emotional value. The emotional value part is when those stories vaporize. So the idea of really rediscovering those pieces that are in your collection, trying to figure out like where can I find like these personal connections with these pieces so that as whoever is going to get what I enjoy now next, they have that story that goes with that piece. And
Yeah.
that emotional connection is not lost.
I couldn't agree more. This layer of preserving the story and passing it down, and it gets magnified every time it gets told, and it brings a priceless layer. This, you can't put price on this. This story that goes with it, this connection. If I take an example, like it really resonates with me because as I was hearing you talking, I saw the necklace in my head. Like there's this silver necklace with circles of mother of pearl and pearl that I've had in my jewelry box and my mom gave it to me. I knew that it was passed down from my grandmother. I knew, but I was not really fully like, okay, I have this necklace, but I wasn't getting that much attention compared to certain of my other pieces. But I
Mhm.
remember once my mom saw a picture that I shared on my social media and I was wearing the necklace. It caught her eyes and we sat down and then she explained to me the story. She told me she remembered that when she was very young, and my grandfather, he was in the military, so he was very, very often away. So the very brief moment where he was back in France, he would take out my grandmother for special. They would go out on the date and they would go to the restaurant. So you can imagine, like she's at home, her husband is away at the war, you don't know if he's coming back, and then he's coming back in town. You've been waiting for months, and all. Like she was telling me, she saw my grandmother always like doing her nail, getting ready. So knowing that she would put the necklace with this intention, and then my God, I looked at the necklace with a completely different eyes. And now every time I see the necklace, I remember the story. And there's no price to
Yeah.
that. It's beautiful.
Here's another important thing to consider, and this is why estate planning is so important, not to like take this off on a different tangent entirely, but there can be, because of the case that you shared with me, there can be, even in like the most happy, amicable families, a lot of hurt feelings about this piece, regardless of if it could be like the least expensive piece in mommy's collection, right? And someone thinks it's going to go to them and it goes to someone else, or it skips
Yeah.
the generation entirely. There oftentimes is so much hurt feelings around
Yeah.
that going to the person that didn't go as planned or as expected. And so when you have those comfortable conversations in advance of when we
Yeah.
lose someone, yeah, it's not great to talk about that, but like, wouldn't it be better to like mitigate the harm to families at the
Yeah.
end
I couldn't
and
agree more.
basically avoid conflict? And so it is not just about who gets what, but this is in particular for highly valuable pieces. When and how pieces get transferred from one generation to another is so critical
Yeah.
because there can be tax implications. So, I
Huh?
mean, we're probably speaking to a global audience, and it's different in every country, but I would guess that it's probably somehow like that's something to consider for sure
Yeah.
when it comes to transferring assets in this way. And the emotional value part is, in some cases, it kind of eclipses the financial value.
It does. It really does. I think that's such a great point to make because those hard conversations, the best moment to have them is when you're at your happiest, when everyone is in
Mhm.
the most receptive state. Because one of the greatest mentor told me when emotion is high, intelligence is low. When you're navigating grief, for example, there's very
Mm.
little judgment left. Like this grief takes up your entire heart, your entire brain, your entire reality. There's how much left you have to think logically and responsibly and to consider like that's not the moment. That's really not when life gets harsh that you want to add another layers and think on top of it of like legal and succession and who they're like so it's really when things are at the peak at its best, when things are going great, that's really the best moment to make sure we can
Yeah.
lift up the load of what's going to come that will be already hard to navigate.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
So to continue on a bit lighter tone variation of our conversation, where would you say from because now that you say you've learned a lot, like with gemstones and all of this, where would you see as the biggest gap between what the consumer knows and what's really the reality of jewelry industry?
Oh my gosh. The answer is really simple. It's greenwashing.
Oh, really?
That's what I believe. I think that most people who, even conscious consumers, have been deceived by marketing language. And it's really hard to know, like, what does sustainable mean? What does ethical mean? Kind of like luxury. Like, there is no
Yeah.
universal language for any of it. When people are just able to, very cleverly, like, oh, well, I'm not dancing in like a legal thing that might get me in a courtroom somewhere. There's a lot of creative marketing language, and it can be the best piece of advice I give to customers is ask who, where, and how the materials in your gemstones came to
Yeah.
become in your jewelry. If someone can't tell you, that's a bad sign. Or if the answers are a little too technical or they're too long, that's a sign that there's
Red
probably
flag.
some funny business. I think it's also important to say when you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know. That's not a bad
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
actually better to say, I don't know.
Absolutely.
And then
And
I think the
it can
most
be, I don't know now, but let me look into it for you.
Yes, yes. But in many cases, it's probably like, I don't know and I will never know because that's sometimes how,
Majority
that's
of,
just the way it is, right?
but it's better to be transparent when that's the case than make up a
Well,
story
that's
and lie
right.
or, yeah.
Yeah, the final question is probably the most important is ask who benefits and who doesn't. And
Yeah.
I think if you're really caring about being a conscious consumer and you really want to know, is this aligning with my values? You can ask that question. And that will
Yeah.
tell you immediately who benefits, who doesn't, and are those people that you want to support.
It's come as a surprise, but at the same time not. I know the extent of the damage of greenwashing in fashion, but it had not crossed my mind that it could also impact jewelry. Does it make sense?
It's everywhere. It's in chocolate, it's in furniture. I mean,
Yes,
like every industry. And also there is no such thing as perfection. I mean, I think we need to
no,
be real about that too.
that's a myth.
But progress is the goal.
Yeah. We
And
can all aim for
transparency.
progress. Yeah, we can all
Yeah.
aim for progress and transparency. We can aim for excellence also, because I think excellence is not the same thing as perfection. Perfection means
Yeah.
this pristine, there's no mixed mistakes, where excellence means I'll always give it my best. And every time there's something wrong, I'll always give my 200% to pivot from that. Excellence means I'll always aim for what's best, but it's not the same thing as perfection at all.
Yeah.
So you mentioned progress, looking towards progress. Where would you say like that technology and AI can support a business like yours today? Where would you see the balance for you? Because this is a debate, like there is technology and the human layers. Where would you see those two being at the right balance for your business?
I think every business is trying to figure out that balance, right? It's like, it's not about like if, it's how much, right?
Correct, exactly.
And so how much and what kind of AI is right for a business? And I would say without built out their concierge businesses that are using algorithms and AI recommendation and AI to make recommendations to their customers in a way that is super immediate, super transactional. But that's not my business.
Mm.
My business is far more niche, far more personal, far more discerning. There's room for both, but those customers are just not my customers. And
Yeah.
the places where AI supports my business are through things like reviewing my email newsletters. As you saw, like I do have a tendency to go on tangents. So AI is like let's keep this person on the track.
No, come
And
back, come back.
I know. And also last year, I spent over 2 months of my life spending time with AI, going through every single page of my website to optimize it to be AI snippet friendly. The truth is, I have two long-term clients who found me through the old school Google search, right? And that was through blog content that I had published. Yet the majority of my top customers are through personal connections, networking, word of mouth. The human part of what I do is still the most critical part to my business. I kind of use AI as my support, as I say, to like kind of figure out the things that I don't know or be my like look out for my blind spots. And it's
Right.
like just kind of like the gut check that I can't do myself because as a solopreneur, we're doing all the things and we're never gonna get all of it perfect. But
Correct.
at least I can lean on AI for that thing where I feel like I really need someone to say, like, let's stay on task and let's
Yeah,
focus on the goal here.
for sure. We can be grateful to AI for that. So if we think about your business, what would be the next thing? If I give you a magic wand today, what would be one thing that you would automate?
Well, it'd be bookkeeping. And I would say AI is helping me with that. Well, QuickBooks is harnessing AI to help me with that. So it's kind of already happening. Like that's another Achilles heel is I just am not, I'm a creative person. I'm not a,
Yeah.
like a bookkeeping kind of mind. In years past, I would just be like, oh my God, there's this thing I have to do
Looking
in
at it
QuickBooks.
sideways, like,
And
no, I don't.
it's like, I mean, it's not my favorite thing. It's probably like my least favorite thing to still do, but it's a lot less painful. So
And if we look at your business as a whole, which aspect has most of your focus right now?
honestly, the human connection piece. I see people are so tired of I'm going to be calling to get tech support and I'm going to get an AI bot, or I'm never going to speak to a human. Or,
Yeah.
I think that craving for genuine human connection is something that is my special superpower. I think that's the thing that is really going to continue to drive my success, is because what I do is so personal.
Yeah, your superpower is the right word for it. Taking the superpower to the next level. Tell us about what's the next growth stage for your business.
I see the next growth stage is just continuing on with what I'm doing. I see a movement towards people investing in gemstones, just the gemstones,
Okay.
but also in jewelry, and in particular, pieces that no one has. A lot of my customers, they either already have like the Cartier, the Van Cleef, whatever those big brands are. They either have those or they never wanted those, but they didn't know it was possible to find pieces that feel uniquely meant for them and
Yeah.
bring what's inside out. They don't know that that's possible. And so a lot of my growth is going to be in really helping people to discover, oh, this is possible, and it's possible in ways I couldn't have imagined before. So pieces that are from their individuality, aligns with their values, and ensures they feel seen and confident. And I'm here for all of it.
But that's beautiful. We'll be here for all of it also. We'll make sure to keep an eye on you and what's happening with All the Brilliant. For the listeners who want to stay connected, all the links and handle Melissa in the description. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. This was an insightful conversation.
Oh, it was such a joy. I always enjoy being with you.
It was my pleasure.